our deep dive into the world of Brett Young. Today, we're going beyond just the hits, like really unpacking his journey. His Wikipedia page is just the starting point.
Yeah, it's like we're tracing the DNA of his career, seeing what made him who he is today. All those unexpected moments and influences.
Okay, so you dug into his Wikipedia page. What'd you find? Let's dive in. Well, before we get to the music, we got to talk about Brett Young, the baseball player. Did you know he almost went pro?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Not just like casual little league or anything.
Yeah.
He led his high school team to a championship. Even got drafted by a couple MLB teams. He could have been in the majors.
Wow, that must have been such an exciting time, full of dreams and possibilities. Then in 2003, while at Fresno State, career-ending elbow injury.
It's kind of like something out of Shakespeare, isn't it? Like fate steps in, and this athlete has to figure out a whole new future.
Makes you wonder how that kind of setback changes you.
Yeah, drive your resilience.
Almost like the universe was telling him, okay, you have this talent too, let's see what you do with it.
And that's where it gets interesting. Because music wasn't totally new to him. He'd filled in for a band leader at a high school thing once. A worship meeting, I think it was. But it wasn't his main thing,
So the seeds were there, but something had to make them grow.
Right, and it seems like that was a mix of artists like Gavin DeGraw and Jeremy Steele. They really got him into songwriting.
That happens a lot, right? Finding your voice through the ones you admire.
Definitely.
So then 2007 comes around, and he releases his first EP, self-titled, before Nashville, before big label, just pure independent hustle.
Exactly. Brett Young saying, I'm serious about this. And he just kept going. Make Believe comes out in 2011, then a few albums in 2012 and 2013, all self-release, all part of his growth as an artist.
That dedication is really something. So many would have given up in those early years, but he just kept pushing.
I think that's the difference between dreaming of music and building a career. Talent matters, sure, but that commitment keeps the fire burning. And then in 2015, he makes a move that changes everything.
He heads to Nashville.
To the heart of country music, where dreams are made and broken. And soon after, he gets signed by Big Machine label group. It's not just any label. They're huge.
That's got to be an amazing feeling, like you finally made it after all those years.
It's validation for all the hard work.
Yeah.
All those late nights writing and performing. But it's also just the start of a whole new chapter.
And this new chapter starts with a bang. 2016, another self-titled EP, this time with Big Machine behind him. And the lead single, Sleep Without You, takes off. It's like the world is finally paying attention.
But it's the next single that really makes him a star, in case you didn't know. It became his anthem, his signature sound.
I bet everyone listening knows that song by heart. But what's really impressive, it hit #1 on the country airplay chart and got diamond certification from the RIAA.
Diamond? That's not just good, it's incredible. That means 10 million units sold. Think about all those people who connected with that song.
Mind-blowing. What do you think it was about that song that resonated so much?
It's simple, but there's so much emotion in it. The lyrics are so real, and his voice just draws you in.
Totally. Musically, it's the perfect blend of classic country storytelling and that modern pop sound. That's what Brett Young does so well, bringing those two worlds together.
Seamlessly, yeah.
And that success with In Case You Didn't Know really set him up for his debut album in 2017. Same name, Brett Young. #2 on the top country albums chart. Pretty good for a former baseball player, huh?
It just shows what happens when talent meets hard work. And a little luck with timing, of course. But Brett Young didn't stop there. 2018 Ticket to LA comes out. And you can hear how his sound is growing.
Oh, yeah. Here Tonight, that lead single, another chart topper. So catchy, you just want to roll down the windows and sing.
Yeah.
But there are also tracks on that album that are more introspective, like chapters.
Absolutely. You see him tackling different themes,
Right.
getting more personal with his lyrics, experimenting a bit musically. The songwriting is more mature. It really grabs you.
And when you listen to his music, like chronologically, it's like watching him grow up right in front of you. He's not afraid to let us see those vulnerable parts, the stuff we all connect with.
It's that honesty that people respond to. Like when you hear Mercy, you can feel the heartbreak in his voice. It's impossible not to be moved by it.
Then in 2021, weekends look a little different these days. You were right, there's a real shift in his sound there.
What's interesting is he still has his core sound. That warm voice, those heartfelt lyrics. But he's also pushing the boundaries of country music.
He's not afraid to bring in pop rock, even some R&B, which probably explains why so many people like his music.
He's always evolving. That's what real artists do. Never satisfied, always trying new things.
And this album is where he really embraces being a husband and dad. Songs like Lady and Not Yet, clearly inspired by his wife and daughters.
You know, it's funny you say that. I read that he wrote Lady for his wife Taylor before they were even married, like a promise of his love and commitment.
Oh, that's so sweet. It gives the song a whole new meaning. And speaking of his personal life, getting married to Taylor in 2018, then their two daughters, Presley and Rowan, it's obviously had a big impact on his music.
Oh, for sure. These big life events love marriage kids. They change how you see the world. And that inspires creativity. You can almost hear him finding his voice as a father in those songs.
Definitely adds another dimension to his music, a sense of maturity that wasn't there as much before. But even with all the changes and experimenting, you still have that classic Brett Young sound, those lyrics that hit you right in the feels,
Yeah,
and that smooth voice.
exactly. It's that mix of staying true to yourself and growing. That's what makes him such an interesting artist.
So we've talked about a lot, from baseball to his biggest hits, how his sound has changed his personal life. But before we wrap up, we got to talk about the awards he's won.
Right. He's got a whole bunch, including the ACM for New Male Vocalist of the Year in 2018. Big deal in country music.
It shows how talented he is, how much he's worked, and how much fans love him. But beyond the awards, what really stands out to me about Brett Young is how resilient he is.
Absolutely. He had that huge setback with the injury, but he didn't let it stop him. He took that same drive from baseball and put it into music.
That's such an important message for everyone. Doesn't matter what you're doing in life. Sometimes things go wrong, but it's how you handle it that matters.
It's about finding that strength to get back up. Dust yourself off and find a new way. Brett Young is a perfect example of that. He took something that helped him through a tough time and turned it into this amazing career.
And he did it all while being true to himself, his values, and his love for music. So whether you're just discovering Brett Young or you've been a fan for years, listen to his music with that in mind. Think about how his baseball past shows up in his songs and his lyrics and how he performs. It adds a whole other level to his artistry.
Yeah, it's like he's not just singing about his life, he's singing his whole life story.
Yeah.
You know,
It's true. You can hear how he's grown. From those early songs to now, a much more mature songwriter. It makes you think about those years he spent playing baseball, all that teamwork and discipline. Did that shape how he makes music?
it's a great question. Can you really take what you learn in one part of life and use it in something completely different?
So many artists have those unusual backgrounds.
Makes you wonder about talent, too. Is it something you're born with? Or is it something you develop through experiences?
With Brett Young, it seems like both. He had the musical ability, but all those years of hard work in baseball, that probably gave him the work ethic he needed for music.
Yeah, all those late nights in the studio probably didn't seem so bad after years of practice and games.
Like he traded one field for another, but kept that same drive.
And maybe being an athlete helped him on stage, too. Think about it. You got to be confident to perform in front of thousands of people. Not everyone can handle that. But for someone used to pressure like an athlete, it might feel more natural.
So if you're listening to Brett Young for the first time, or even if you're a longtime fan, try listening with that in mind. How does his baseball past show up in his music? In the words and how he sings? It gives his music so much more meaning.
That's what these deep dives are all about, right?
Yeah.
Finding those hidden connections, those surprising things that shape the artists we love. It's about getting to know the person behind the music, understanding their journey.
I totally agree. We covered so much today. Brett Young's time in baseball, all his big hits, how his music has evolved, even his family life. What a fascinating journey.
It really is. Hopefully everyone listening has a new appreciation for Brett Young, and maybe they'll start thinking about how their own experiences have shaped their creativity.
Absolutely. So until next time, keep diving deep, keep exploring, and keep discovering the stories behind the music you love.